Hey guys, how's it going? So I have the hard to find, apparently hidden and secret substitute for Senate Bill 1149. This is a gun control bill. It passed Senate committee yesterday, and if you remember my video I put out, I reported on 7 things that were going through committee in the Michigan House and Senate right now. And I said, well, they passed the substitute bill for 1149. However, and at the time I'm recording this video, this is still true, they won't publish the substitute, just the original. So we're in a situation where you can't even read the bill that passed committee. This was the same committee where Senate Bill 942 was not on the agenda, but they passed that through committee as well. If you're new here, welcome. It's good to have you. Make sure you check out my recent videos, including the one from last night, because there's tons of stuff going on in Michigan. For the rest of you, it's good to see you again. I wish it wasn't under these terms, but here we are. So check this out. I'm actually going to be able to read to you this whole substitute because you can't get this online right now at all. But I was able to get this actually the old-fashioned way. I picked up the phone, I called Lansing, and I called my Senator Joe Bellino's office. Now, just so you guys know, Joe and I have been texting several times a day. I met with him in person in Lansing just last week. He's been doing a ton to fight against these Second Amendment infringing bills. Joe's one of the good ones for the Second Amendment, so make sure you give him a shout out, get a hold of his office, and let you know you're behind him. So I called his office number, just the regular number available to the public, and Joe Martin, his chief of staff, picked up the phone, and he agreed and said this should be available to the public. The fact is, the Senate and House, the Democrats are passing so much, or trying to pass so much gun control right now. This did pass through committee already, which means it's closer to becoming law, that they're not even publishing everything. But this should be published, and you guys should have access to the verbiage. So we're going to go over this right now. And this is Senator McMorrow's bill. Now, I'm noticing real quick, they did pare it back some from what the original one was, but this is still completely repugnant to the Michigan and United States Constitution. I still reject this bill in its entirety, and you need to contact your senators and your representatives in Michigan to oppose this. So it starts off the way it always starts off. The people of the state of Michigan enact. Now, this is a long bill. If you have a short attention span, I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to read the bill. I'm going to offer my commentary like I always do. But as of right now, you actually can't find this document anywhere published on their website like you're supposed to be able to. So it starts off. A person shall not do any of the following: knowingly manufacture or assemble, cause to be manufactured or assemble, import, purchase, sell, offer to sell, or transfer ownership of any firearm that is not imprinted with a valid serial number. Knowingly import, purchase, sell, offer to sell, or transfer ownership of any ghost gun precursor. These are privately made firearms. They're using the terminology ghost gun. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. I'm just reading you the bill so you can get this info as soon as possible because they're rushing this stuff through. C. Beginning 3 years after the effective date of the Amendmentary Act that added this section, knowingly possess either of the following. Now, this was going to go into effect in the original bill January 1st of 25. Now they're saying 3 years. So I guess this next election in 2 years might matter more than you think. So, beginning 3 years from the date of the act. A firearm that is not imprinted with a valid serial number. A ghost gun precursor, we're going to have to find out what that means. Knowingly manufacture or assemble or cause to be manufactured or assembled, import, sell, offer to sell, transfer, or possess any undetectable firearms. E. Sell or transfer ownership of a firearm if any of the following: the person manufactured or assembled the firearm without a license to manufacture firearms. This is big. The person knowingly caused the firearm to be manufactured or assembled by another person that does not have a license to manufacture firearms. 3. The person is aware that the firearm was manufactured or assembled by another person that does not have a license to manufacture firearms. Knowingly allow, facilitate, aid, abet, or cause the manufacture or assembling of a firearm or completed or unfinished firearm or receiver by a person who is legally prohibited from possessing a firearm or completed or of unfinished frame or receiver under state or federal law. Knowingly allow, facilitate, aid, abet, or cause the manufacture or assembly of any firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver that is not imprinted with a valid serial number. 2. A person that does any of the following must have a license to manufacture firearms. This would be a type of FFL they're saying you would need. Manufacture or assemble a firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver with the intent to sell that firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver predominantly to earn a profit. They've changed this bill a lot from its original form. Manufactures or assembles more than 5 firearms or completed or unfinished frames or receivers in this state in a calendar year for personal use. C. Now they're going after your printers. Uses a 3-dimensional printer or computer numerical controlled milling machine, that's your CNC machine, to manufacture or assemble any firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver in this state. 3. A person that manufactures or assembles a firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver in this state and who does not have a license to manufacture firearms shall, not later than 10 days after manufacture or assembling the firearm or frame or receiver, have the firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver imprinted with a valid serial number in accordance with subsection 5. Notify the director in a form and manner to be prescribed and provide any identifying information concerning the firearm or frame or receiver. There goes your right to keep and bear arms, along with your right to privacy, right? The firearm or frame or receiver and the owner of the firearm or frame or receiver requested by the director, including but not limited to the serial number of the firearm or frame or receiver. This section does not apply to any of the following. A. An antique firearm. Any completed or unfinished frame or receiver of an antique firearm, or any firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver that has been rendered permanently inoperable. Yeah, that's going to do you a lot of good, right? The sale, offer for sale, or transfer of ownership of a firearm, or any completed or unfinished frame or receiver to a law enforcement agency, of course, they're always exempt. The manufacture or assembly, importation, purchase, transfer, or possession of a firearm, or any completed or unfinished frame or receiver by a law enforcement agency for law enforcement purposes. The sale or transfer of ownership of a firearm, or any completed or unfinished frame or receiver to a federally licensed gunsmith, manufacturer, or importer, or to any other entity authorized to serialize firearms. Doesn't sound like you, does it? The manufacture or assembly, importation, purchase, or possession of a firearm, or any completed or unfinished frame or receiver by a federally licensed gunsmith, manufacturer, or importer by any other entity authorized to serialize firearms. Okay, that sounded similar to the previous one. A member of any of the following while on duty and acting in the scope and course of employment: the United States Armed Forces or the National Guard, a law enforcement agency, a forensics laboratory, a common carrier, motor carrier, air carrier, or carrier affiliated with an air carrier through common controlling interest, or an authorized agent of that carrier while acting in the scope and course of duties incident to the receipt, processing, transportation, or delivery of property. An authorized representative of a local, state, or federal government that receives a firearm or any completed or unfinished frame or receiver as part of an authorized voluntary buyback program. There's another bill that will mandate that they destroy all buyback guns. Go watch the previous videos if you're new here. Buyback program in which the government entity is buying or receiving firearms or any completed or unfinished frames or receivers from private individuals. The possession and disposition of a firearm or any completed or unfinished frame or receiver by a person that meets all of the following. I. The person is not prohibited by the state or federal law from possessing the firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver. The person possessed the firearm or any completed or unfinished frame or receiver no longer than was necessary to deliver it to a law enforcement agency for that agency's disposition according to law. If the person is transporting the firearm or any completed or unfinished frame or receiver, the person is transporting it to a law enforcement agency in order to deliver it to the agency for the agency's disposition according to law. The possession or importation of a firearm or any completed or unfinished frame or receiver by an individual moving into this state who, not later than 90 days after moving into this state, causes the firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver to be imprinted with a valid serial number in accordance with subsection 5. So you move into the state of Michigan, you've got 90 days to serialize it according to the specifications, contact the director, all the provisions of this bill. 5. Removes the weapon from this state or otherwise comes into compliance with this section. K. The transportation of or temporary transfer of a firearm or any completed or unfinished frame or receiver to a federally licensed gunsmith, manufacturer, importer, or to any other entity authorized to serialize firearms by an individual who lawfully possesses such firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver before 3 years after the effective date of the mandatory act. So you'll have 3 years to get them into compliance is what I think this is saying. Again, no legal advice. I'm just trying to get this info out so you guys can get active to oppose it and giving some of my opinions on it, right? 3 years after the effective date of the mandatory act that added this section, or before moving into this state for the purpose of having the firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver imprinted with a valid serial number as provided in subsection 5. A firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver must be imprinted with a valid serial number in the following manner. The serial number must be imprinted by a federally licensed gunsmith, manufacturer, importer, or any other entity authorized to serialize firearms. So it sounds like you can't serialize it yourself to come into compliance. The serial number must comply with federal requirements for the identification of firearms, including but not limited to 27 CFR 479.102. A person who violates this section is guilty of the following. So here's the penalties, then we're going to get to definitions. A. For a first offense, a misdemeanor punishable by imprisonment of not more than a year. A fine of not more than $5,000 or both. Wow, that's a heavy misdemeanor. B. For a second or subsequent offense, a felony punishable by imprisonment of not more than 5 years. A fine of not more than $10,000 or both. As used in this section, antique firearm means that term as defined in 27 CFR 479.11. Director means the director of the Department of State Police or the director's designee. Entity authorized to serialize firearms means a person, firm, corporation, or other entity that is authorized under federal law to imprint serial numbers on firearms and completed or unfinished frames or receivers under 18 U.S.C. 923. Federally licensed gunsmith, manufacturer, importer means a person, firm, corporation, or other entity that holds a valid gunsmith license or license to manufacture or import firearms issued under 18 U.S.C. 923. Frame means the part of a handgun or variants thereof that provides housing or a structure for the component designed to hold back the hammer, striker, bolt, or similar primary energized component before initiation of firing sequence. That sounds like a slide to me if you're talking about many pistols, or a frame, or, well, maybe everything. Even if pins or other attachments are required to connect that component to the housing or structure. What do you think that means? Any part of a handgun that is identified with an importer's or manufacturer's serial number is presumed, absent an official determination by the director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, or other reliable evidence to the contrary, to be the frame of the handgun. F. Ghost gun precursor. I was curious to see what the definition of this is. Doesn't that sound scary? A ghost gun precursor means a frame, receiver, unfinished frame, or receiver that does not have a valid serial number. Ooh. Sounds like thought crime to me. G. License to manufacture firearms means a valid license to manufacture firearms issued under 18 U.S.C. 923. That's United States Code, by the way. Major component means that term as defined in 18 U.S.C. 922. I. Manufacture assemble means to fabricate, construct, fit together components, parts of, or otherwise produce a firearm or completed or unfinished frame or receiver, including through additive, subtractive, or other processes. Wait, so if you take parts away, that means you're manufacturing? No, it literally says that. Including through additive, subtractive, or other processes. Other processes, just the old catch-all. In my opinion, trying to make you so scared to even own a gun, you'll just go crawl in a corner. And I hope you don't do that, but that's what I think their intent is. J. Receiver means the part of a rifle, shotgun, or projectile weapon other than a handgun, or variant thereof that provides a housing or a structure for the primary component designed to block or seal the breech before initiation of the firing sequence, even if pins or other attachments are required to connect that component to the housing or structure. Any part of a rifle, shotgun, or projectile weapon other than a handgun that is identified with an importer's or manufacturer's serial number is presumed, absent an official determination by the Director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or other reliable evidence to the contrary, to be the receiver of the rifle, shotgun, or projectile weapon other than a handgun. Security exemplar. Ooh, listen to these titles. Security exemplar. Sounds like we're playing a video game, but this is actually real life, and a lot of people could go to prison a long time if they violate this, if it becomes law. Security exemplar means that term is defined in 18 U.S.C. 922. I. Three-dimensional printer means a computer-aided manufacturing device capable of producing a three-dimensional object from a three-dimensional digital model through an additive manufacturing process that involves the layering of two-dimensional cross-sections formed of a resin or similar material that are fused together to form a three-dimensional object. This reminds me of the old Bill Clinton defense. Remember when he said, now that depends on what the definition of the word is. They have like super wordy definitions. This is to make this whole bill a huge trap, in my opinion. Let me know what you think. Undetectable firearm means a firearm manufactured, assembled, or otherwise comprised entirely of non-metal substances. If one of the following is true, after removal of all parts except major components, the firearm is not detectable as a security exemplar by a walk-through metal detector calibrated to detect the security exemplar. Dude, just hearing it, security exemplar, kind of like, yeah, that's kind of creepy. I think these people that write these bills are kind of creepy, if you ask me. The firearm includes a major component that, if subjected to inspection by the types of X-ray machines commonly used at airports, would not generate an image that accurately depicts the shape of the component. We're almost done here. Unfinished frame or receiver means a forging, casting, printing, extrusion, machined body, or similar item that does either of the following. Here's where they go after your blocks of metal and plastic and anything. Is designed to, or may readily be completed, assembled, or otherwise converted to function as a frame or receiver. Is marketed or sold to the public to become, or used as the frame or receiver. It's either of the following. It doesn't have to meet both. Of a functional firearm once completed, assembled, or otherwise converted. O. Unfinished frame or receiver does not include a component designed and intended to be used in an antique firearm. P. Valid serial number means a serial number that has been imprinted by a person authorized to serialize firearms in accordance with federal law, or that has otherwise been assigned to a firearm, or completed or unfinished frame or receiver in accordance with 26 U.S.C. 5842. That sounds kind of creepy. People getting assigned to your firearm. Variants thereof means a weapon utilizing a similar frame or receiver design, irrespective of new or different model designations or configurations, characteristics, features, components, accessories, or attachments. I'm going to read that again. Variant thereof, I think, means anything they want it to mean. Let's go through this. Variants thereof means a weapon utilizing a similar frame or receiver design, irrespective of new or different model designations or configurations, characteristics, features, components, accessories, or attachments. So everything about it could be different. It would still be considered similar. All right, there is the substitute for Michigan Senate Bill 1149. Hopefully this becomes available to the public soon, but as of right now, shout out to Senator Joe Bellino and his Chief of Staff Joe Martin for making this available to me and therefore available to all of you. Now, I just got this and wanted to share this with you right away. Some of you wanted to follow up on this bill. I hope you enjoyed this video, although I know you didn't enjoy the subject matter, and neither did I. But hopefully you like getting more information. I know I do. And hopefully you all are out there fighting the good fight. I'm going to see you all again soon, because the lame duck session is not over. They're still cramming stuff through the House, through the Senate. The House is in session in a few minutes here, if not already. And I hate to say this, but I'll probably have more bad news to report in the near future. In the meantime, this is not my job. I'm a landscaper, but I'm taking tons of time away from it to help fight this fight and try to stop them from getting rid of our Second Amendment here in Michigan. If you'd like to help support the channel, there's ways you can do that down there in the description. And also in the description, check out the other sites where I publish tons of extra content. All right, thanks for watching, and have a good one.